obviously seems really happy. Meanwhile, you talk about an intense weekend of analysis and points of view that I find each very intriguing. It is the aftermath of the health care bill that isn't, and that wasn't, and that may never be. And because of that, we are going to be with the Affordable Care Act for quite some time. Early on, you'd have to say it's a great weekend for Democrats. They go, well, Obamacare lives. And I think they got to wake up today and say, uh-oh, it lives. For now, what do we do?
And the president pointed at them in the Oval Office saying, hey, this is yours, you own it. We didn't pass it, but Obamacare is a disaster, and now it's got Democrats written all over it. But as you said, Brian, finger pointing all over the place. Is it Speaker Ryan? They had 7 years to get a bill done. Nothing.
Did you ever
Is the Freedom Caucus? Is it moderates? Who is it? You know, a lot of postmortem.
Did you ever think that Nancy Pelosi and Paul Ryan would agree? That Obamacare is the law of the land. That's just the way it is.
Absolutely, yeah.
But a lot of people are complaining, blaming other people. Some are blaming the Freedom Caucus. Some are blaming Paul Ryan, saying he should have gotten the votes. Let us know what you think. Send us your comments in. But watch what happened yesterday on the Sunday shows. It is the blame game. Watch.
People blame the Freedom Caucus, the Heritage Foundation, the Club for Growth.
That's the president's club.
Blame the Speaker of the House.
I think the president's disappointed in a number of people that he thought were loyal to him that weren't.
He's blaming you for saving Planned Parenthood, saving Obamacare.
It's like saying that Tom Brady lost at halftime. You know, we may be in overtime.
I think the House moved a bit too fast. Okay. 18 days is simply not enough time.
You know, the president's not supposed to be crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. That's an excuse.
I think there's probably plenty of blame to go around. I think what happened is that Washington won. I think the one thing we learned this week is that Washington was a lot more broken than President Trump thought that it was.
All of them have interesting perspectives, but I watched all the Sunday shows, and I think one thing is pretty clear. They did not do a good job selling the program to the American people. So if President Trump got his plan and they had their moment and they said, here it is, then they'll turn around and over the weekend it would have been Democrats saying 17% of the country approves of Trump care / Ryan care. How are you going to deal with this? And then Paul Ryan will say, you know, that's not the exact plan I proposed. The Freedom Caucus will say, I had given in. And President Trump says, you know, this is their plan. It would have been an orphan. So I know one thing, that we will not be able to get through any presidency any time. I don't care how charismatic the man or woman is, unless people somehow compromise. They have to understand that they're not up there just to get their own way.
Or you've really got to make the case, because the swamp is deep. It's not going to change instantly. Just because Donald Trump was elected doesn't mean the processes all change. The special interests, the pettiness, the messiness of Washington is never going to change. So you better have the votes and the people behind you to get it done. Otherwise, you will get caught up in the muck.
Well, and you want to compliment that the people who are in Washington that are doing this for the people. You know, you have the Freedom Caucus, and they're getting a lot of blame because of this, but yet in their heart of hearts, they believe they're doing the right thing, and they're thinking about the people and their constituents.
Well, then to me, no one's doing the right thing. Yeah, here's an example. If you want to do the right thing, you can work in a soup kitchen, you could go to a children's home, but when you're there, it is to compromise. For example, if we were to do our show, and all I did is talk, and all you did was talk, that is not a good show. It's not about us, it's about the show.
You're not there to compromise. You're there to pass legislation that you believe would benefit the country. But at some point, you're right. You have to say yay or nay and vote for something. I think that's the issue with the Freedom Caucus here is, hey, you pushed. Well, when are you going to pull a lever for the good guys?
If you watched the Sunday shows this weekend, they were interviewing different people in the Freedom Caucus, and they were saying, you know, we wanted to vote for what the people we wanted to vote because the premiums are too high for the elderly people. And then people that were interviewing them said, yeah, but in 3 years, those premiums are going to go down. So you're right. Maybe that's the compromise. Yes, maybe the costs are still high for the next 3 years, but eventually they're going to go down. They do have to come up with a compromise. All they needed were 20 more votes. There are 35 members of the Freedom Caucus.
Maybe as little as 15 votes. Some said as few as 5. Meanwhile, Congressman Ted Poe of Texas said this. He tweeted out afterwards, I am no longer a member of the Freedom Caucus. He was a yes. Saying no is easy. Leading is hard. But what we were elected to do, leaving this caucus will allow me to be a more effective member of Congress and advocate for the people of Texas. It is time to lead. So he will be our guest at 7:15 Eastern Time.
I want to find out why he did this exactly. Did he do it because now he's regretting not voting for it?
Yeah, well, no, he was going to vote for it. And he was going to break. And by the way, Mark Meadows said vote your conscience, which means you can go do what you want.
And this might not be over. It's not that strange to conceive of a scenario where in a few days or a few weeks there is a compromise made or there are a few tweaks made to this bill, and the repeal and replace of Obamacare comes back. I mean, it's happened before.
We'll see,
in other
but it's
places.
so complicated, Pete. That's the whole thing. It's so complicated. It's hard to imagine.
They were very close, too.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to this. Sean Hannity was interviewed by Ted Koppel for 45 minutes. Ted Koppel took a small little sample of that long interview, and this is what he aired on CBS, the Sunday morning show.
We have to give some credit to the American people that they're somewhat intelligent and that they know the difference between an opinion show and a news show.
Yeah.
You're cynical. Look at that.
I am cynical because, you know...
You think we're bad for America? You think I'm bad for America?
Yeah.
You do?
In the long haul, I think you and all these opinion shows...
That's sad, Ted.
No, you know why?
That's sad.
Because you're very good at what you do, and because you have attracted a significantly more influential...
Let me finish the sentence.
Let me finish the sentence before you do that.
With all due respect.
Yes. You have attracted people who are determined that ideology is more important than facts.
I love what he says. Sean Hannity said, you're selling the American people short as if they're not smart enough.
Well, here's what Sean tweeted out a little bit later. He said, if you pay attention to Ted, was saying, all opinion shows are bad for America. But he was saying this while giving out his opinion, hashtag hypocrisy. And Sean's upset by the way he was portrayed. They took that one exchange where Ted Koppel finished his thought. But what is so bizarre about that, on that CBS show, you get 9 minutes. That's what makes that show so great.
Yeah.
They give a lot of attention. If Ted Koppel had Bill Maher here, Michael Moore here, and then Sean here, and then said, you know, Michael Moore, you're bad for America. Bill Maher, you're bad for America. Sean, you're bad for America. Have them together. Then you could say, well, he's trying to do a balanced piece. But he went to the New York Times for balance and actually asked them, can you do something to help us with them in America, when he doesn't understand the argument is where they are, and what the counter argument is what they are is not what the American people are. And what Sean does is give his opinion. It's not his fault that he became so popular on radio and so popular on TV that I believe he's number 1 or 2 in both. And they looked at Rush Limbaugh as the enemy. Rush Limbaugh came out organically, a guy who making $18,000 a year as a salesperson. The country loved him. He became unbelievably successful. That's an American success story.
That's right. Well, it just shows you how mainstream media thinks. If they don't agree with your opinions, they're going to sell you as being bad for America.
That's right.
But he's not. They're going to say that about the right, of course. But listen, Sean Hannity also tweeted out, he said, that was a 45-minute interview. CBS, I dare you to release all of it. So we would love to see that entire interview, CBS. We think you should put it up on your website.
They have a streaming news show. They could put it on their streaming news show.
Easily do that. And this is where the media misses it. And this is why Donald Trump exposed this through the election cycle. Someone like Ted Koppel or Brian Williams or Dan Rather, the inventor of fake news with what he did in 2004. They're the arbiters of what truth is, of what good. No. You've had a left-wing bias forever, slanting the playing field against conservatives forever. Now we're calling you out for it. Don't pretend like you get to play balls and strikes.
You would think they would say, okay, you're right. Sean Hannity's show is so successful, TV and radio. So is Rush's. What are we missing? Maybe we should start listening to their shows and listen to the American people.
Well, I want him to tell Rachel Maddow you're bad for America. Tell Keith Olbermann you're bad for America. I have a few clips that are available. You know, the worst person in the world. Did that really bring America together? So just don't pretend to be Ted Koppel. I'm above it all. He is a legend.
And give your opinion.
And then he gave his opinion and decides that Sean's bad. The New York Times is there to straighten out America.
And then clips it, and we don't hear what Sean's response is. Because, you know, Sean loves to argue. I'm sure he had a great argument right after
100%.
that, and they clipped it.
Which I love. I said right out of the clip. You know, don't sell the American people short. They're smart enough to understand, you know, what they can, what we think through, and that's the way the left thinks. No, we need to tell you what to think. No. Sean says no. I trust you. Well, you make the choice.
I know one thing we got to go. Yeah, it's true, and I know one person's opinion is Gavin Haddon. He's the executive producer who wants us to toss over to Heather, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Heather, good morning, baby.
I know.
It could be our team.
proper color today.
Wouldn't that be so fun? Yeah, we'll talk about that. But in the meantime, we begin with this Fox News alert, though. The terrorist who plowed an SUV through pedestrians in London before stabbing a police officer to death may have told others about his deadly plot. Investigators are now demanding access to the messages sent by Khalid Massoud through the heavily encrypted app called WhatsApp. This, as another suspect was arrested Sunday, linked to the attack that killed 4, including American Kurt Cochran. And we are expecting some new details any minute now about Cochran's wife, Melissa. Her family set to hold a news conference from London, where she is still hospitalized. And the Trump administration intensifying its fight in the war on terror, sending additional troops to the Middle East, Iraq and Syria, getting the extra security boost to help take out ISIS. And the Prime Minister of Iraq vowing that the disgusting terror group will be obliterated, quote, within weeks. And he credits President Trump.
President Obama didn't want to get involved in the first place. Well, I think at the moment there is understanding that Iraq is an ally, and we should keep on working with Iraq to support Iraq to stand against terrorists.
Yeah, the 200 additional troops are part of the U.S. Army's Elite Airborne Division. And the White House expected to unveil its brand new Office of American Innovation. That's a group of business experts and advisors led by the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. The goal will be overhauling government functions using ideas from the business sector. Kushner telling the Washington Post that the office is looking to achieve successes and efficiency for, quote, customers who are the citizens. And those are a look at your headlines. We will talk about that basketball matchup a little bit later.
We will.
We'll break it down. We'll get you the telestrator. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
All right, straight ahead. Police say he's a lone wolf terrorist wannabe plotting an attack on the U.S. And this morning, he's already back in the streets walking free.
Right.
All right, many in the media have crowned a new public enemy #1. Maybe you've heard of him.
The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee runs to the White House with the political equivalent of a first aid kit, trying desperately to bandage the president's self-inflicted wound.
Is the argument for an independent investigation bolstered now because of what Devin Nunes did?
Do you think Devin Nunes should step down?
Has Chairman Nunes so damaged the credibility of the Intelligence Committee that they should just shut down that investigation?
Can Congress be trusted to conduct a nonpartisan investigation?
Last week, Congressman Nunes' apology for going to the White House to brief the president before going to Adam Schiff, the ranking member, was something that was pretty clear, and I thought many people thought was admirable, but some aren't satisfied with the fact that he said protocol was maybe put to the side when he went right to the president. Here to discuss this is CBN News senior political correspondent David Brody. David, why are they going after the credibility of Nunes?
Well, there's a lot of different reasons. First of all, I think there's like a latte-sipping environment in the media. If you notice it, the New York Times and many of those mainstream media outlets all talking about that word, that buzzword, credibility. It seems like they're in a way kind of in cahoots with one another when it comes to the narrative. But I think that's a big part of it. But look, Brian, this just in is a partisan environment in Washington. Who has heard of such a thing? I mean, look, do we really think the House Intelligence Committee is supposed to, I know they're supposed to be impartial, but are they really impartial? I mean, come on, give me a break. We know that this is not the case. It's not been the case for a long time, and it's not any sort of island of impartiality in a very deep-sea world of partisanship.
And here's an example. So Devin Nunes gets this information, and no one's seen it before. He did go to the CIA, then he went to the White House, and then the next day he briefed the ranking member. Okay, having said that, he goes, yeah, I should have probably came to you guys first. We actually don't know what he has. But we do know one thing. A Democrat on the other side is getting a different type of handling. I remember when Congressman Reyes couldn't even identify Shia and Sunni when it came to what Al-Qaeda is, and he's in a significant position when it comes to intelligence.
Well, it's interesting, Brian, you bring that up because I did some research on that. The headlines just were not there. Yes, there were a smattering of smaller headlines in other outlets, yes, but it wasn't above the fold in the New York Times about Silver Reyes. And also, let's remember this, too. He was investigated by the Ethics Committee at the time, the House Intelligence Chairman for the Democrats under Obama. And so you've got that. There's plenty of stuff with him that they haven't talked about. And by the way, we should also mention, during his time as House Intelligence Chairman for the Democrats, he was coming out strongly against NSA surveillance techniques by the Bush administration. Well, wait a minute. I thought it was supposed to be impartial, partisan, or not partisan at all. You know, boy, it is a double standard for sure.
I just think that Congressman Nunes, to me, has been somebody above the fray, from a rural community, kind of an understated guy that I thought was in the perfect position. I'm very curious to see what emerges this week about what he told the president, the CIA, and when we finally find out what was there. David Brody, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Chaos and violence in the pro-Trump rally when protesters and supporters clashed. The woman in that video joins us live with her message to the haters and why she's not backing down in Huntington Beach.
We have some quick headlines for you this morning. The White House fence jumper left dangling by her shoelaces has been arrested again. This time, police say Marcy Wall made it over the barrier outside the Treasury building, making it her third arrest in just 1 week.
Was she making a deposit?
Right? And a horrifying video of a runaway escalator causing a shopping center stampede. Watch this. The mayhem unfolding in China after the machine speeds up and changes directions out of nowhere. People sent rolling down and then crushed at the bottom. 17 people were hurt. They're all expected to be
Here's our video malfunction.
Well, all of a sudden it got...
Right. I'm like, I want to see this.
Yeah, what happened?
Roll the video.
It's too horrific to look at. All right, a pro-Trump rally turns violent in Huntington Beach, California.
They maced her. I thought it was safe. Please give me milk and baking soda. Please help me.
Jennifer Sterling is one of the event organizers. In this video, you can see her trying to break up a heated argument when all of a sudden she is hit with pepper spray by an anti-Trumper.
Oh, my gosh. Jennifer joins us now. Good morning to you, Jennifer. You're all smiles right there, but when you watch that video, gosh, we feel sorry for you. That had to hurt.
Thank you very much. It did. Yes, thanks for having us. It was one bad little part of a really beautiful and great day where we had a chance to gather all of the Orange County, Southern California area on the beautiful Orange County coast to wave our banners and wave our flags and gather together to show gratitude for the men and women that every day put their life on the line. This event was to show our gratitude for our president, our vice president, our first responders, our veterans, our military, and all of our law enforcement. And it was a beautiful, beautiful celebration. It was just unfortunate that we had a few bad kids out there that
like
decided to be bullies.
It's like Berkeley. They had there was a protest, and these other thugs come in with their masks on and their pepper spray going. It's the same script.
Sure, it absolutely was interesting the way it played out. You know, we all gathered, women, children, veterans, people in wheelchairs. We never could get anyone on the media to show that we collected lots of donations for the veterans or that we were wearing blue ribbon to represent, you know, the great law enforcement that was out there protecting us. There was probably 14 to 20 thugs that showed up with scary black masks, like when you watch a kid cartoon, the kid with the black face and the black mask was the bad kid. You know, while we were busy wearing our name tags, having like a family reunion of sort, we had, you know, scary bad kids that, you know, created criminal activity. And
it's not very courageous to cover your face and try to look tough that way. Jennifer, does it deter you at all? You're out there trying to spread a message of, you know, support for veterans and our president. When you see this kind of resistance, how do you react to that?
How I react to that is like the silent majority is ready to stand up and stand out for what's right. You know, I think that most of us have the same like-minded feelings that, you know, the good will outweigh the bad. And we believe that, you know, with God and law and order and respect for the people that, you know, do what they do, our country could be great again. You know, we picked up that tagline, Make America Great, because who would not want that? Everybody could benefit from everyone uniting. You know, we're not all going to agree, but we certainly should be respectful to one another. And when there's a mom and dad and a bunch of kids that want to walk on a beach, walk path, we should not be blocked, or should we be attacked? And it's not right.
Right.
And,
so
you know,
what you're trying to say too, Jennifer, yes or no? Would you go pepper spray a anti-Trump protester?
Good God, no. It's against the law. You know, I teach my children. I teach my children that when all the kids are on the playground, you play nice together, whether you don't like each other or not. These these folks were bullies, and they were violent bullies, and they were the ones that were arrested. Not anyone in our group was arrested. We had, you know,
and they're not going to stop you from protesting in the future either, right?
And the president recognized it.
No, I think although we still have to focus on being very humble, we still have to make sure that we use our voice. And we have to exercise our right, and we need to make everybody realize how important it is to protect our safety.
Hey, thanks for getting up in the middle of the night for us, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
Jennifer.
Hey, thanks so much for having us. And if anyone would like to find us, we're on magamarch.com. California is going to take back, you know, some of this craziness. This is not going to happen.
Gotcha.
Orange County law enforcement, they were there to protect us.
All right, Jennifer,
and we're thankful for them.
We love those men and women
Thank
in
you.
blue.
Have a good day.
You too.
29 minutes after the hour, were banned from a plane over their outfits. The fashion trend, the United Airlines ruled too sexy for the skies.
Oh, really? And
I wanna rock!
I always have
Did
South
you really?
Carolina. Yes.
For once, your personal pick paid off.
Okay, can we show this shot over here? Look at this. This is my team. Heather, come here.
Yes.
This is my team. This is where I went to college, and that's her team. How could it be?
My team's not on this. If they end up matching up, we have to go to the game.
Absolutely.
Okay. 100%.
Yep.
I actually did get to go to the game on Sunday. Dad came up with a bunch of his friends. He calls me. He says, I'm booking tickets. We're all staying at your apartment. I'm like, Dad, do you know how small my apartment is? But anyway, we had the best time. It was a great bonding experience. Here's my dad. That was last night at the game. One of our dad's friends gave us these great seats. There we are with one of his other friends, and we're holding up the floor because we're going to the Final Four. This has never happened. That was Cam in the middle. These are my two little nephews. So my brother couldn't come up. I would have given him my ticket because Dad and, you know, that's a great father-son bonding moment. I'm so glad he did it because I got to go. These are my little nephews. This is why my husband had to stay home because, you know, it's hard having two babies.
Yeah.
So look, they're holding up the sign, USC Florida. Aren't they cute? That's Graham and McLean and our coach in the background right after the win.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just all smiles. They were
So let me ask you, was the Garden crowd for what team, or were they just looking for a good game? Because it's a neutral site.
Yeah, well, because to play at the Garden, that's like magnificent.
Right.
So it's a great place.
Did you sense the crowd was for you guys
or South Carolina fans?
We were louder. I think it was about even.
Florida's been there before. They're kind of, you know, South Carolina, it's like, this is our chance.
Darius Rucker was crying on the front row with his son.
Right. I could see you crying if you don't get front row tickets, but when you have front row tickets, you should just be...
You should be all smiles.
Not be crying at all.
Absolutely.
They were tears of happiness,
And by the way, Darius Rucker is a superstar musician and one of my best friends.
He's
not one of my friends. He knows my name. Right. He knows my name. He's
wait a minute. In order to be best friends, plural, does he know that y'all are best friends?
Not really. I use his name a lot to get good tables in restaurants. And he actually subbed in as a Fox and Friends host.
No way!
Yeah, we have the video of it. A couple of years ago, we rolled it in because I caught up to him at the Super Bowl.
Well, can you please take another day off?
Yeah,
we need to get him in.
Yeah, absolutely. Mick Jagger will be filling in for Pete next week on the weekend. Heather Childress, you have some news.
My sister was at South Carolina going to school there when he was there.
That's right,
so,
yes.
Just to name drop.
He supports...
Hootie and the Blowfish.
He supports our school so much. It's amazing.
Yeah, Carolina and Carolina. We'll see if it happens. In the meantime, we do have some other stories to tell you about. We begin with this. The man accused of planning a lone wolf terror attack right here in the U.S., well, he's now walking free. A 30-year-old, Derek Thompson is his name. He posted a $75,000 bail and was allowed to walk out of a Phoenix prison. The only requirement that he wear an electronic monitoring device. Thompson is accused of trying to buy a semi-automatic weapon online and interacting with several radical websites as he hatched his alleged plan. And United Airlines sparking outrage for refusing to let girls on a plane, all because they were wearing leggings. But gate attendants in Denver making the call, saying that the teenagers were what's called pass travelers, using free tickets for employees and family members, and that violated the dress code. Another passenger calling out the airline on Twitter, launching a social media firestorm.
It sounds like a very gender-based policy that, you know, men can wear shorts, but women can't, or girls can't wear leggings. It sexualizes young girls to make them feel like what they're wearing is inappropriate.
And United standing behind the decision, saying that buddy pass travelers need to dress nicer than normal because they're representing the company. And running to the rescue, a woman running in a Philadelphia half marathon nearly collapsing just steps from the finish line. Look at this. Until fellow runners come up to her rescue, helping her finish the race. A true sign of sportsmanship in the city of brotherly love. Their act of kindness now being shared all across the country.
I love teamwork, but I'm worried about her.
I'm thinking about the
I'm like, she's lost the ability to walk. I mean, she
don't take her to the hospital. We've got to carry her over the finish line.
Can we get her a medal after she sees a doctor?
No, she's not quitting. She's going to finish, and then we'll get it taken care of.
I mean, I understand she wasn't just tired. I'm worried that she's dehydrated, pulled a muscle. You know, could be having something going seriously.
Dr. Kilmeade is very concerned this morning.
If she were like 5 miles away from the finish line, I would say yeah. But she's like right there.
Carrier?
Yeah.
You think they did the right thing?
Of course.
We'll see. We differ on that, Ainsley.
No, Dr. Kilmeade will give his diagnosis later.
All right, now let's talk about some extreme weather. Strong storms pounding the heartland overnight, golf ball-sized hail crashing through a skylight in a Texas home.
Without the dimples. Yep, that system, the dimples that are on golf balls. Right. Also spawning tornadoes in Oklahoma. The twister spotted just outside of Oklahoma City, and those storms are on the move right now.
That's true. Meteorologist Adam Klotz is tracking it all for us. Adam, so, you know, hail does not have dimples like golf balls. That's what we can confirm, right?
We can absolutely confirm that. And you know what? We're going to be maybe seeing a little bit more of that before the day's over in center portions of the country. Here in the Northeast, I'm actually looking at just a little bit of light rain right now, stretching down into the mid-Atlantic. We're seeing that. Maybe some snow a little farther to the north than we're seeing here in New York City. But I really want to highlight what's happening in the center of the country. You see it right there. Big thunderstorms moving towards the Mississippi River right now, eventually running into the Memphis area. That's going to be an area we are highlighting later today where we could see some severe weather. That's going to be an event in the afternoon, in the evening hours. We'll certainly be paying attention to it, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Adam.
Yep.
Thanks.
Adam, we know the weather's bad. We're just wearing a hood.
It's true.
Probably rain.
And prepared. Well, a new survey claims almost 20% of Americans don't have a single dime. And the leading reason? Pure laziness. So how do you know when it's time to spend and when it's time to save?
Here to answer your emails is personal finance expert with Ramsey Solutions and author Retire Inspired. There's the picture of his book, Mr. Chris Hogan with the great voice. Hey, Chris. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
What do you mean we're lazy?
Yes, it's scary, isn't it? I mean, you start to really think about this and you understand people are putting their whole financial lives on hold. And they're at least being honest about it, saying that, yes, I'm just too lazy to do it.
Well, laziness is one excuse, but we've got some emails in from viewers that have questions for you how to deal with this. Norma in Illinois says, because of my age, I can take out retirement funds without penalty. Would it be wise to put my emergency fund in a retirement account to earn extra money?
Well, Norma, here's why you don't want to do that. If you put your money into a retirement account, you're going to have to take certain steps and follow certain processes to be able to access those funds. So here's what I would do instead. I would just utilize a money market account for your emergency fund, which will allow you to get to that money quicker if you do have an emergency. So, Norma, keep your money liquid. Utilize a money market account for your emergency fund.
Which is easy. You just set that up at your bank. It's just a separate account, right? And the interest rates are better.
That is exactly right. Yes, ma'am.
All right, Bob's in Minnesota. He's 61 years old. He says he'll receive a pension of over $800,000 from his company. He said, should I take that lump sum or a monthly payment from the company? Good question.
Very good question, Bob. If I'm in your shoes, I'm going to take the lump sum, and here's why. When you get that money from your company, from your pension, you're going to have many more investing options outside of what your company can provide. So definitely take the lump sum, but I would encourage you to get connected with an investment professional, someone that has the heart of a teacher, not a salesperson, that can walk you through kind of the process and the timing so you can understand exactly what your goals are and what you're going to invest in.
Okay, Wesley in Michigan says, I'm 19 and a freshman in college. I have scholarships and live for free with my parents. I plan to work this summer and should make about $5,000. Should I invest this money in a Roth IRA?
Wow, Wesley, I am very proud of you, first and foremost, for getting scholarships. That means you understood the importance of your grades as well as timing. If I'm in your shoes as you get this money from working hard, I would encourage you to put $1,000 aside as an emergency fund for yourself and then invest the other $4,000 toward the Roth IRA. Now, just remember, Wesley, Roth IRA means the money is going to grow tax-free. So you never want to touch it. Let that money grow and grow and grow over time.
And, well, of course, with that $1,000, is going to be an emergency. Got to get to spring break. And quickly. So there we go.
He deserves it.
Absolutely.
Chris Hogan, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Chris.
Definitely. You're not
Thank you
lazy.
all.
Neither is Wesley at 19,
No.
planning for retirement. Good
Impressive.
Man. All right, a heinous hate crime in New York City, and Mayor Bill de Blasio's answer? It's President Trump's fault.
Of course.
James Harris Jackson traveled to New York City with the motive to kill black people. And after he stabbed and killed a man in Times Square, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio had his own idea of the suspect's motive, an atmosphere of hate created by President Trump.
The challenge here is that a dynamic of hatred has been growing in this country over the last year or more. It's particularly come out in the open after the election. It's clearly related to the rhetoric of Donald Trump and even other candidates during the presidential election that have unleashed forces of hate all over the country.
Does Mayor de Blasio actually believe this, or is he simply being politically expedient? Here to discuss is conservative radio talk show host Lawrence Jones. So, Lawrence, obviously a tragic story, pure and outright racism, yet Mayor de Blasio says it's Donald Trump's fault. What do you say to that?
Well, this is the Democrats not learning from their mistake in the past election. Anytime we have a failed policy from the Democratic Party, didn't they start to spread this whole racism thing or gender politics, this identity politics? And I think they should learn from their lesson in the past election where that didn't work.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, but of course, politically, it doesn't work. But how about just the blatant hypocrisy of it? I mean, we've seen racist actions over the course of our entire country. Just last year, or, in recent memory, the killing at the black church in Charleston, a horrifically racist incident that happened while Barack Obama was president. No one tied it to him. Now they're trying to tie it to President Trump.
Well, I think it's important to also note that hate has no political party. There are hateful people in both political parties, or they say they're a part of the parties. And I think there's also another distinction. There's a difference from a report and an investigation. We saw at the AME church in Mississippi where somebody wrote with spray paint and set it on fire saying, vote for Trump. Well, that was later found out to be one of the black church members. Mm-hmm. We saw at the University of Miami where a pro-KKK rhetoric was written on the building. That was later on to found out that that was 2 black students. We saw a girl at the University of Michigan that suggested that someone said that they were going to set her headscarf on fire. That was later found out to be false. So I think it's important for the media in many of these cases to wait for the facts to come out before they start to put this on Donald Trump.
Wow, fantastic historical perspective. And you're basically saying there's a motive ascribed to these comments. Bill de Blasio, maybe he believes it, but maybe he also wants to just make sure the narrative is in one direction.
Well, I think, Pete, it's important to note that in many cases, they win when they do this until the past election. When you start getting people focused about race, and the worst thing you can call somebody in today's time is racist.
Sure.
And it becomes a distraction. What happened in this past election is that people were broke. The health care was failing, and none of that really mattered. They didn't care what you thought about them. They cared about their pocketbooks. And so I would encourage the mayor and Democrats to learn from their mistake. I actually like competition. I want to have a spirited debate with the Democrats. Sure. But if they continue to play this race game, they're going to lose every election to come.
Well, and it's happened from day one of the Trump presidency as well. Oh, look, he's getting rid of the Martin Luther King bust. Oh, wait, he didn't. He's not racist. So it's amazing how they play that game time and time again.
Pete, the media is to blame for this because sometimes they carry the water of the liberals without doing their due diligence.
That's when you don't follow up on the facts, well, then an impression can be created. Lawrence Jones, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.
You got it. All right, the White House.
When it fails, which it will, it may be May, it may be the end of this year, folks will come back to us and say, wow, can we have that bill back again? This is no longer a priority.
Obamacare is going to continue to explode. And when Republicans and Democrats finally decide to come together and repeal and replace Obamacare, we'll be ready to get the job done.
What will happen is Obamacare, unfortunately, will explode.
Well, the White House is warning that Obamacare is going to, you heard him say it, explode. But with plans for repeal now on hold, what can we expect next? Dr. Nicole Saphier joins us now to weigh in on this. Dr. Saphier, what does happen next?
You know, we have to keep in mind there is a 17% approval rating for the American Health Care Act. So there were fundamental problems with this, okay? We need to stop the blame game. That's over. It's time to move on. And we really do only have about 3 options. Obamacare is failing. The Affordable Care Act is imploding on its own. So we can maintain the status quo, let that continue on its path. Come 2018, many people are not going to have coverage options on the individual marketplace. Premiums are going to continue to go up, and the Democrats are going to have to work with them. The obstinance or just sitting there in stagnation is not going to work.
All right, so that's number 1, let it implode.
So we've already,
number 2,
the Republican Party has already gone forward with some ways to speed up the Affordable Care Act decline. So if that happens, then they may be able to get a GOP bill, a fix in place while they still maintain control.
What are they doing to speed it up?
They're lessening the requirements on the mandate, along those ways. They're moving forward with the Medicaid work requirements. This will ultimately make it all implode quicker, and then they'll be able to have a fix in while they still maintain majority in the House and the Senate. And then the third is, which is probably what I see President Trump is doing. You know, he's a self-proclaimed non-politician.